Hello, welcome back to Learning with Ms. H. Today, we're taking a trip to a state park here in the southern half of Missouri. It's called Elephant Rocks State Park. This is found near Bellevue, Missouri, near the Mark Twain National Forest. The unique thing about this state park is it is full of ancient granite boulders, most of which date back to about 1.5 billion years ago. The granite boulders in this park were formed during the Precambrian era, as magma below the surface was forced upward toward the crust. As the magma rose, it slowly cooled, and that cooling magma formed the red granite rock in this area. The granite here is made mostly of orthoclase, with a small amount of other iron-rich minerals. You'll learn more about the minerals that are in each type of rock as we move through the unit. We're down near the Ozark Mountains in southern Missouri, and the same uplifting forces that created those mountains also helped in forming the granite boulders we see here. As erosion began to remove the surface material above the granite, it also exposed the cracks in the granite. As water seeped down to the stone, it flowed around the stone and over those cracks. As it seeped down into the cracks, it wore down the edges of the stone, smoothing it out into familiar shapes we see today. As the granite around the boulders we see today eroded away, it exposed those rounded chunks of granite. Those rounded chunks are called core stones. As erosion continued, more and more of the core stones rose towards the surface. The more you clear away above it, the more of the stones are exposed. Once they were exposed to the surface, weathering was able to start happening. There's two types of weathering that we saw here, physical and chemical. Physical weathering began in the form of water seeping into the cracks, freezing, expanding, thawing, melting away. That freezing and expanding allowed those cracks in the granite boulders to become larger. A second type of physical weathering was from the wind. Wind on the surface would blow particles and chunks of other rocks and debris into the boulders, and as those things would slam into the boulders, it would chip away at it. All of these types of physical weathering helped form the surface of the boulders that you see today. The second type of weathering that happened was chemical weathering. Again, it could involve the rain, because we have a lot of acid rain now. The rain would fall on the boulders, and as it rolled over it, it would eat away at the stone, smoothing it out again, similar to what happened to the stone underground. A second type of chemical weathering, though, comes from the lichens that start growing on the surface. Now, a lichen is a primary succession plant. It doesn't need any kind of soil to take hold. Lichens would start growing on the surface of the boulders, and as they grew, the lichens would produce a weak organic acid that they would excrete, which then dissolved the rock underneath them. If you take a look here at this close-up of one of the boulders, you can see this tealish green color that mars the surface, and those are the lichens that are growing there. This park earned its name based on its main formation. It has a huge formation of granite boulders near the top of the park that are all lined up in a row. They're known as nature's circus elephants because from above they look like a bunch of elephants in a line. The boulders in this park are made of granite. Granite is an igneous rock. That means it was made deep within the Earth's surface. And the granite boulders in this park weigh several hundred tons each. The largest boulder, named Dumbo, is 27 feet tall, 34 feet long, 17 feet wide. This boulder weighs in at an impressive 680 tons. When you do the math on that, that comes out to 1,360,000 pounds. It's huge. While I'm here, I wanted to give you a little bit of a look into the cultural history of the area. Elephant Rock State Park was not always a state park. It started off owned by the Red Granite Company, and the quarry here was named the Sheehan Quarry. It opened in 1869 and produced what's known as the Missouri Red Granite. That's what you see all around you. Missouri Red Granite can be found in many places. A lot of the buildings in St. Louis used it. The governor's mansion in Jefferson City has a porch and columns that are made from the Missouri Red Granite. It's also found in many of the monuments across the state, and it was even shipped nationwide by railroad. The quarry was so successful that the company actually built a town nearby called Graniteville to house and support nearly 700 workers for the quarry. What you see here are names carved in stone. You can find similar places all over the park. It seems that the people who worked in the quarry liked to make sure that future generations knew they were there. Right here, I'm going to insert a short video clip of the quarry process. You'll see the workers harvesting the granite by hand, driving steel rods into the rocks with hammers. Very hard work, especially in the heat of the day. Following that, you'll see an image of the rocks where you can still see those holes from the rods. That video clip you just saw is actually posted on YouTube in full. I'll put a link to it in the cards when I put this video up for you guys. Eventually, a gentleman named John Brown, who was a retired geologist, purchased the land that includes Elephant Rock State Park. In 1966, he gave all of this property to the Missouri Department of Conservation, which then formed Elephant Rock State Park. The quarry has been shut down for many years, but it's kind of interesting to learn about the history and the culture of the area. If you were to come down and visit Elephant Rock State Park today, Graniteville does still exist. However, there are only a few buildings still standing, most of which you can't actually get to. There are a few homes. The old granite building itself that housed all of the offices, and the old schoolhouse are all still standing, made of Missouri Red Granite. The other thing you'll find in Graniteville is a new quarry. While Elephant Rocks is shut down, they've moved their operations just about a quarter mile away into Graniteville itself, and there's an actual Missouri Red quarry that's still functioning. You can't get into it, but you can see it from the road. If you're interested in this kind of thing, it's definitely worth a trip down to take a look. One final unique fact about this area is what's known as a tor. A tor is an area where you have a stack of weathered rocks that are sitting on top of bedrock of the same kind. You can find these features in many locations all around the world, but Elephant Rock State Park is known as one of the best examples of a tor anywhere in the Midwest. You don't need to know that for the test, it's just a fun fact. I hope you enjoyed this trek to southern Missouri with me to see a little piece of our geological history. Get out and explore the world. We'll see you next time.